Hello magical souls, I'm Trish the Red Witch and welcome to my YouTube channel. I decided to create this YouTube channel because, well, it's been in the works for quite some time, and I'm just now able to launch it at the beginning of January 2020, which I'm so excited about. And the main reason I wanted to create it was just to have another area to communicate with you guys through video. Instagram's pretty limited in the amount of video that you can do. YouTube's much more user-friendly for video, and yeah, I just wanted to get on here and start creating more content for you guys this way. So if you are new here, and there is a good chance that pretty much all of you are since my YouTube channel just launched, go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications so that you can be notified every time I make a new video, which will be once a week. So for my first video, today's video, I'm making something that's really necessary for me to be able to make, to be able to communicate more efficiently and effectively with people through Instagram and my emails. I get contacted by a lot of people who are just beginning their path, people who are baby witches, who maybe have just started practicing recently, or people who don't know anything about witchcraft and just have a lot of questions. So I have compiled the 5 top questions I get asked by beginner witches, and I wanted to provide you my answers to those today. So let's just get right into it, and I hope you enjoy. So the number one question I get asked is, how do you know if you're a witch? And it seems like a lot of people, at least in my experience, who reach out to me seem to think that you either have to be born a witch or you have to find out somehow that you're a witch, like having this moment of psychic awareness that kind of snaps you out of living a regular life and awakens you to the fact that you're a witch. In my experience, there's more people that think that than don't, especially people that maybe don't know any witches in real life, have never researched about it before, and really their only experience with witchcraft has been through this kind of fantasy type stuff. So basically, you're a witch if you practice magic. It's a really simple definition. So let me explain what magic is, and then you can decide if you feel called to practice it. Once you begin practicing, you can call yourself a witch, and you are a witch. So there you go. So magic is the manipulation of energy through your own personal power to bring about change in your life. And that's it. It's really simple. So if you think of, I always explain this in a kind of scientific way, which is basically that everything is made out of energy. If you think of an atom, which is the smallest building block of what we are, what all physical reality is, it is just made out of energy. So if you are only made out of energy, and then you also have this consciousness, which is its own entity and is intangible and is its own type of energy, you can see how it'd be plausible and very possible to use those things to tap into the greater energy of everything else around us to bring about that change. If you could learn to handle that energy and to harness it and manipulate it, then you can see how you could create some pretty spectacular change in your life. So that's basically what the practice of magic is. It is researching about that process, learning about that process, practicing that process, which is why witchcraft is called a practice, because you just practice it and get better and learn along the way and grow spiritually and magically. So if you feel called to practice magic as I just explained it, or maybe you already have done a couple spells, then really all you need to do is start calling yourself a witch, and you're pretty much a witch. So nothing else to it. Okay, so the second question I get asked a lot is, what items do I need for my altar? I think that since witchcraft is based a lot in ritual, and rituals can be very structured. People feel like it's a necessity to have all of these certain items in order to make a spell work. So I'm happy to tell you again that you don't need anything to start out as a witch. All you need is yourself and a willingness to learn, and a willingness to practice magic. So your first spell could be just you sitting down, cleansing your space energetically, and then, focusing on an intention or trying to connect with spirit guides. That in itself can be a spell. Your first spell can just be you sitting there, doing this work, focusing on an intention, and releasing that intention into the universe through your meditation energy. If you want to do a more structured ritual, I think it helps a lot. I think that to do magic that works, it's helpful for a lot of people who are starting out to have certain items that can help them visualize, because that's kind of what it's all about. It's about visualizing your intention, letting that energy out into the universe, and a lot of people have a lot more success when they can do that with physical objects rather than just sitting in quiet contemplation and releasing it that way. So really the main thing that I would suggest that you have is candles. I guess if you want to put a label of, it's a necessity on something, then I would suggest that thing be a candle. You can charge your intention into candles and release that intention as it burns down, and you watch the flame and can receive messages through that. So it's a really powerful tool. I can talk more about candle magic in upcoming videos. I'm not going to get too into it now, but candles are a great way, and there's lots of great books and articles online on how you can use candles in your witchcraft practice. So I would totally recommend picking some of those up. But other items that many witches have on their altar are things to represent the 4 elements, for example, a chalice, which can represent water, a bowl of water to also represent water. For earth, you could do something like a bowl of salt, or a bowl of earth, or something that comes from the earth, a plant, things like that. Candles always for fire. You can also do a hot charcoal disc. They're like those charcoal discs that you get. They're about this round. They come in a pack of 10, and I think they're mostly used for hookahs, I don't know, but I use them in my cauldron to burn loose herbs, and they can also be used as an element of fire. The element of air, things that can be good to represent that element are bells and incense, and anything else that makes sense to you. But some witches, like I said, don't even work with the elements. So these are things that are common to, your run-of-the-mill altar, but you don't have to have anything on the altar that you don't connect with, and it's actually detrimental to your practice to do that. So you want to pick items that call to you spiritually, that you feel spiritually connected with. So if you sit down and you try to connect with your spirit guides or connect with the universe, you can meditate on, okay, what is it that I should have on my altar, and see what comes to mind, and then get those things. You might have some of those things lying around. It could be something maybe that your grandmother owned who is now passed on. That thing might not be on, most of the other witches in the world's altar, but it's very special to you and meaningful to you, and therefore it holds a lot of power. So everything that you place on your altar should have that special meaning and truth behind it for you, and that's what gives it power to help you in your spell crafting. Other things that people have on their altars are cauldrons, or a fire-safe bowl or vessel to burn things in. Many spells require fire, and so it's good to use fire safety and to have a good place to burn things, and a cauldron is a good way to do that. I just have a little cast iron pot. I don't have my big cauldron here, but this is a mini one that I have, so it's just a tiny little cast iron cauldron. I just have some herbs and stuff in there, and it can be anything that won't catch on fire that you can burn things in. I know it can be a little overwhelming when you're just starting to look at altars and things that you should have on your altar. I just want to tell you, you do not need anything on your altar that does not speak to you. You can use all things that you already own. You don't have to go out and spend a fortune on candles and beautiful jars and things like this. If you feel called to make your altar look a certain way, certainly work towards that. Don't get things just because you see them on other people's altars. Like I said, the main thing that's gonna help your spell work is to make sure that all of your altar items make sense to you and make sense to your spell work for you. Throughout your practice, pick up other things that you feel called to, that are powerful to you, that feel powerful, and that you feel connected with. And that will make your altar beautiful and powerful in its own way. So the third thing I get asked about a lot is a book of shadows. So what is a book of shadows? I'm going to go over that. It's basically a magical book that you use as a companion in your craft. And it's basically a working journal that you write different things in throughout your entire practice. So I know it's kind of a vague description, and that's because everyone uses their book of shadows in different ways, and you have to do what's right for you. So let me just kind of go over what type of book to use, because people ask me this all the time as well. You can use any kind of book. My book of shadows is here. It is this gorgeous leather-bound journal, and I choose to create my own pages for inside, so you'll see that it's kind of like uneven. So I bind my own journal because that feels right to me. I like to have a part in creating this special book because it is so special to me. That's just what works best for me. But I know witches who have bullet journals that they use as their books of shadows because they're easy to use, they're easy to refill, they're super simple to organize and to keep track of. I also know some people who use scrapbooks. If you're more of like a crafty type of person, you can certainly do that. And I also know people who have a digital book of shadows. I personally feel more connected to my book when I am handwriting things, and I know a lot of other people feel that same way. But if you do not, say if you hate your handwriting or something and that's going to be hindering you from connecting with a handwritten book of shadows, then type it up. It doesn't matter as long as you have the intention in it, and when you write in it, you are in a sacred space and you treat it as its own special book that is set apart from others. And the best way to do that is to consecrate your book of shadows before you write in it. Perhaps I'll make a video on how to do that in the future as well. But basically a book of shadows is just that. It's a journal that documents your magical journey. Types of things that you could put into your book of shadows are, you could write spells in there, magical recipes. A lot of magic happens in the kitchen, and I'll definitely be talking about that on this channel. It's a place for you to be able to journal and write what you have experienced throughout your magical practice, and to document results that certain spells produced, and really anything you want. You can write dream interpretations in there. You can, when you're doing research, which I definitely recommend you do, and you learn about a new crystal or herb or divination tool, you can write those notes in there. Pretty much whatever you want. You can decorate it however you want. You can handwrite it, you can type it, you can scrapbook it, whatever you want to do, whatever feels best to you. That is the most important part. Make sure you are doing what feels best to you and what you feel called to do. So when you think of book of shadows, first thing that pops into your head is what you should do. It is not necessary to write in it every single time you do a ritual, though I recommend you do. I think it's really helpful to be able to reflect so that we can grow through our practice, and just have fun with it. So make it you and do whatever feels right. So the next question I get asked about a lot is, what type of witch am I? people will see memes or people, writing in their Instagram bios about like the types of witch they are. So some of the different types include green witches, hedge witches, sea witches, eclectic witches, solitary witches. There's all different kinds of witches, endless possibilities for what label you can put on yourself. But if you're just starting out your witchcraft journey, I would highly recommend not giving yourself a label like that. I think by labeling yourself, for example, let's just take sea witch as an example. You might feel really connected to the sea. Maybe you live next to the ocean, or maybe you go there all the time, and that's wonderful. And you should definitely tap into that connection with water in your spiritual practice. But if you label yourself a sea witch right out the gate, I think that a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, it can shut some of the other types of things that you can work with that might be something that's really powerful for you out. And maybe if you've labeled yourself a sea witch, you won't want to work with fire. And I recommend, if you're just starting out, to work with all different types of magic to see what works best for you, what yields the best results, what feels the best. And I don't think that you can really judge that until you've tried it. So try a bunch of different things. And if there's something that really, really doesn't in your gut feel good to you, then obviously don't do that thing. But if you're just like not sure about it, then I would recommend trying it, because that's how you open up new spiritual doors and unlock new wisdom that you can tap into and grow from. So you might be surprised. Allow yourself and the energies around you to surprise yourself by working with a lot of different things. And then at some point down the line, when you're very confident, okay, I've worked with all these things, this is what I feel most comfortable with, then maybe it's time to, use a label to describe yourself as a witch. You do not have to if you do not wish to. You can just say, I'm a witch, and that's it. You don't even have to label yourself that, So don't do anything you don't feel comfortable with. If you feel called to call yourself a certain thing, then by all means do that. But you are, at the end of the day, just you. You are a magical being who's practicing witchcraft, and witchcraft is a journey. So if you label yourself, just continue to allow yourself to learn and grow, and just continue to be you and continue to do what feels right to you. So my fifth and final question that I get asked about all the time from beginner witches is, how do I practice the Sabbat? More specifically, it's, how do I celebrate Yule? What's Yule about? I got a lot of those because Yule obviously just happened, but it happens consistently at every Sabbat. So I'm happy to tell you that as the Sabbats approach on this channel, I will be doing in-depth looks at each of the Sabbats throughout this year, so that by the end of next year, they're all up on my channel and people will be able to get some information from them. But I'll just kind of do an overview right now of how to celebrate. So basically, each Sabbat has its own themes, and it generally has to do with the cycle of nature and where it's at. So the next upcoming Sabbat is Imbolc. It's the midpoint between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. It's when light is returning, things are starting to grow. You feel the first springs of life out in the world, and it's a time to celebrate renewal, purity, your home and hearth, and family. So those are some general themes that for this upcoming Sabbat we can reflect on. And you can celebrate the Sabbats just like you celebrate any other holiday. So Christmas, for example, if you ask how do you celebrate Christmas? How do you celebrate Christmas to all of your friends? They probably have their own little traditions that they do. And generally speaking, people have presents where we open them on Christmas morning and it's like this big thing and great, And so there are certain things like the presents that can be celebrated for each Sabbat, but they're not a necessity. You do not have to do that. You do, again, what feels best to you, and I think that is the best way to go about it. you get to make your own traditions and rituals. So definitely do research and see what other people do, and try a few different things and see what feels right to you. There are some things that you can do for each Sabbat that many people agree, okay, that's like, you know, an Imbolc thing to do. That's a Yule thing to do. Like burning a Yule log, for example, is like a Yule thing to do that you can do, but you do not have to. You can research different types of ways that you can celebrate. Try a couple different things and see what works best for you. So that's how you celebrate the Sabbats. And stay tuned if you are new to witchcraft. As the Wheel of the Year turns, I will be posting videos that kind of go into more depth about each Sabbat and give you guys ideas on things you can do for each one. So stay tuned for that. All right, you guys, so I'm gonna wrap this video up. It's been longer already than I thought it was gonna be, and I really hope that you've enjoyed my first YouTube video, and I hope I can expect to see you back here each week with me. Also, I recently launched my own monthly Academy of Magic called Charm School. I've been contacted by a lot of different people looking for a more guided path to the practice of witchcraft. So I thought the best way to be of service and to be able to provide that was to create a monthly Academy of Magic, a monthly program where I will do a deep dive on that month's overarching topic, give ideas for types of spells and rituals, give lots of bonus content, and be able to kind of provide a more personalized guidance to magic and witchcraft. So if that's something that interests you, I actually would love to give you your first month free. And you can get that deal if you head over. The link will be in the description. Our first class goes up January 20th, so make sure you sign up soon. Sign up now and grab your spot in the class so that you can be a part of it. So again, it's free, and I really hope to see you there. So click the link in the description and please sign up. I am so excited for our first class, and I'm saving a spot for you. All right, guys. Well, until next week, I'm going to be signing off. I really hope that you have a wonderful day, and keep making magic. See ya.